All right, so you've got a guest strategy in place to promote your own podcast. You're going to guest on as many other podcasts as possible because that's what works. Well, that's true. It does work. But you're probably promoting that in the wrong way. That's what we're going to talk about today on the Podcast Accelerator from Orlando, Florida. That's right, I am here at Podcast Movement 2019 with the Rebel Base Media team. I'm Mark Asquith. I run Rebel Base Media. And of course, you can stop by and grab the best t-shirt at Podcast Movement 2019 from booth 314. Come and find us and come and get a demo. Come and get a look around Captivate.fm. According to Mr. Matthew Passy, who is a wonderful podcaster and an amazing, amazing podcast agency owner, Captivate is the most thoughtful podcast host he has ever seen. Everything about its design, layout, interface, and ease of use has been thought out thoroughly. That's according to Matt. Come and see for yourself, booth 314. Right, today on the show, I've talked about how to work with guests to produce a show that their audience will love when they are guesting on your show. But what about when you are the one guesting? How can you give the best to your audience whilst doing the same for the host of that show? That is what I'm going to talk about today here on the Podcast Accelerator. But before I do that, I would like to remind you that the team at Aweber, who are also here at Podcast Movement, we are co-hosting a meetup this very week. They still want to give you 90 days free to try their email marketing platform. Now, there's a reason they're at Podcast Movement. Aweber helps podcasters like you and me to build relationships with our audiences. So stop by their booth, go and get a demo, go see Chris, go see Brandon, go see Megan, or go and check out markasquith.com/Aweber. You need to do something about your email marketing. So, like I said, I've talked about how to work with guests on your show when it comes to producing a show that their audience will love. But like I said, what about when you are the one guesting? How can you give the best experience to your audience whilst doing the same for the host of the show? Well, you've got to turn the tables a little bit. You know, think about it. How many people that you have on your show actually share your episode? Honestly, it's not that many, and I'm really sorry to say that, but it really isn't that many. It's a sad fact, all right? Because they're interested in promoting their own show. Cool, that's fine. I get that, and of course, that should be the case. So you got to turn the tables. Why would you share their show? Well, it's obvious. You will share the show if you've been a guest on that show, you will share that show if you believe you can get something for it. If you believe you're going to garner new listeners. Or if you believe, for example, if you've been on a quote-unquote big show, that it's going to do you some good from a brand perspective. And all those things are valid reasons, but all those things are the very same reasons that other people are sharing this other podcast, okay? So if I'm a guest on a podcast and you're a guest on a podcast and Kieran's a guest on the podcast and we're all guests on the same podcast, how do we stand out? We don't stand out. We're just saying, look, I've been on Pat's show, been on Pat's show, been on Pat's show. Doesn't matter, okay? That is not really going to work for us. So what we've got to do is we've got to put this host on a pedestal, all right? We have got to be the one person, get this one, the one person that host reshares time and time again. Because sure, they're going to do their due diligence and share their own episode the day that they release it. So the day that you appear on their show, they're of course going to share it. But they're not sharing you. Not really. They're sharing their own show. Because their own show is what they care about. And they're sharing the fact that they have a new episode. It doesn't matter who it is that's on it. But in your sharing, in your tweets, in your Instagram, in your Facebook posts, if you can do something that resonates with that host, if you can build a little in-joke, if you can just mention something that only you and them have got in common, if you can do something that makes them stand out, if you can do something and kind of showcase that you care about their show, share a little detail that no one else shares, then guess what? They are going to reshare that. So you will get actual personal reach from that. Do that 2 or 3 times, build up the conversation, and then you will start to reap bigger and more, I guess just more fruitful relationships off the back of your guest strategy, all right? You can't just guest on 1,000 shows and expect things to happen. Sure, it's going to help, But it's not the be-all and end-all, okay? It's not the be-all and end-all. So I want you to consider that. How can you put the host of the shows that you have guested on a pedestal? How can you engage them differently? How can you build relationships and share things that no one else knows about that host? How can you build rapport and build that little bridge of a relationship? And then use that when you share the fact that you've been on their podcast, all right? Because let's face it, they're used to their guests sharing. Because 1 out of every 10, 20, 30 will do that. Make it stand out. Make your shares stand out. Be the one that they remember, okay? That is how you can max out your guest strategy, and that is how you can promote your guest appearance on another show in the right way. All right. Thank you so much for joining me here on the Podcast Accelerator. Remember to tell all your friends that this show is free and available to listen to in any podcast app of choice. If you are at Podcast Movement 2019, come and see us, booth 314, Rebel Base Media. Come and grab the best t-shirt in the business, for free. Come and grab one of those, and we'll see you on the next round of the Podcast Accelerator. And until next time, thanks for joining me, and never forget, the more you expect from yourself, the more you will excel.